What makes a great hotel in your mind?
What do you look for when you're about to book a hotel? Hello, TK.
Hello, Pete.
How are you?
Good.
And
Hello, Corey.
hello, Corey. Corey's been out this week, everyone, and guess what he's done? He's bought himself a microphone.
We've got one.
Yay!
Shout out to Dustin Borton for recommending it.
the ghost who walks. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Everyone's only heard you in the background. Now they can hear you well and truly in the foreground where you deserve to be.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, that's enough. Shut up.
I've been listening since the start.
Okay, turn it off. Thank you.
I love you.
Goodbye. We'll tell you when you can speak.
I fucking can't wait for the
Unless I'm
comments on
looking
that.
directly at you. Mate, what do you want to talk about today? We were talking, we just had a quick bite at market. Delicious. Thank you,
Thank you.
as always. But
Need a little lie down now.
we just, well, we only just had a salad.
19
I
other
definitely
things.
just had a salad, nothing else. But we're talking about, we just booked a trip to Tassie in a few weeks.
Yep. How good's Tassie?
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. So Jen's never been.
This has never been either.
Well, because I think the thing with Jen, being Canadian, anywhere that's sort of cold,
It's like,
she's like, well,
I've been
we've
there,
got a better
done that.
version.
Yeah.
You know, Canada's just better. But it kind of is.
Yeah, of course.
But, it's also, why we haven't been in New Zealand. But I need to convince her that's next. But Tassie's kind of the first sort of step. And what I love about, particularly Hobart, I mean, I love Tassie in general, but Hobart for me, it's so easy to get around. There's so much good food there. There's obviously great booze, great producers as well.
Maker markets?
Yeah, and it's all right there. But the conversation invariably comes down to where do you want to stay?
Yeah, of course.
And Hobart's got a couple of beautiful, some really, really lovely hotels. Some in Hobart, some just out.
Cradle Mountain's for sale.
Is it?
Yes.
That'd be cheap.
Yeah.
I'll
Real cheap.
I'll look around in my center console, see if I've got a few bucks to buy that. Is it really?
Yeah. What an iconic lodge, but
Amazing.
probably doesn't get more iconic than that in Australia.
No.
Been around
Interesting
for a
who picks
long
that
time.
up.
Yeah.
Because one of the things people don't realise, and funnily enough, we're going on a tangent. We should probably change the name of this podcast to Tangents, actually, to be honest, because that's kind of what we're best at. But everything, I've had people ask me this time, why is Tassie wine expensive? And it's because everything has to be brought in and everything has to be brought out. So you're importing and exporting everything. Cartons, glass, capsules, labels.
Yep.
Most of it has to come from the mainland.
Not road freight.
No, exactly. Well, if it is, it's taking an extra 2 days on the boat anyway. And then you've got quite a few producers who they ship fruit back and make wine on the mainland.
Yep.
Like the Toll Puddle wines,
that's right, I remember.
they process back at Shaw and Smith. And I think I've talked about this before, but says there's something about the little drive that they have. It's less than I think 24 hours from go to woe. But there's something about that happens in that 24 hours in the truck, refrigerated, keeping the fruit in great condition.
Yeah.
But it says there's stuff happening, and he
Yeah.
kind of likes that. But everything tends to be a little bit more expensive for that reason. And the reason why I bring up that is that we're looking at hotels.
Yep.
And so looking at a couple of the ones on the water, beautiful. And I'll mention that Mac 1, stunning
Yeah,
property. Have stayed there before. Henry Jones Art Hotel, stayed there before.
Are you in more of a boutique hotel?
It's funny because that's kind of where my background was, like working with spices. That's kind of what we
Yeah.
were. So not
Which is, they've got
not
some
the
beautiful
big
properties,
corporate.
those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're now with Salter Brothers, they're getting bigger. Different parts to that business now as well. But I think my preference has been, and mainly over the last say 10 years, probably more towards Airbnbs.
Yeah, sure.
If I can't get the hotel that I'm looking for a particular thing. But the conversation that we were having on the weekend is like, where do you want to spend the money?
Sure.
So is it $400 a night, $500 a night, $300 a night, or would you pay $700 for the whole week?
Yeah, sure.
And just get a bed.
And how long are you going to spend in the hotel every day?
Right.
Because
Particularly when you're going somewhere to sort of explore and to have a look around, get the car, drive to, go wherever you want.
Yep.
You're not really, there's potential for you not to be in the hotel at all.
You just need a comfortable bed.
Yeah. But then it's the one thing you can't really check is the bed. right?
If it goes pear-shaped, that's a fucking shit time.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's probably a whole other conversation. What happens there? And then there's benefits of big hotels as well. Services, amenities, things like
Would
that.
you consider yourself as a hotel guy? You like a nice hotel, don't you?
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. And again, I think, but I've also, it's an interesting question. I probably would say I'm not, as a general rule.
Yep.
Because I've stayed in a lot of shitty hotels.
Yeah.
Particularly when I used to do a lot of traveling.
Same.
It's just like it's literally a bed. I spend more time sleeping on the plane than I probably did in apartments or in hotels. But yeah, it's a really good question. Like I do like a nice hotel, but I also like a really nice lunch or a really nice dinner.
You got a bucket list
of hotels? Yeah, there's a few. I'll tell you what, all of the White Lotus hotels. The one that's that Sicilian one, that one in the last season.
Oh God, how good!
Oh, it's just, and even the current season, which we're both watching. For anyone that's
you can stay there
up to date, yeah. But there's 3 different hotels used to shoot that.
Right.
So there's one for internal shots, one for like external, like around the pool or around the bar, whatever, and there's one for like the big shots. They're all 3 different properties apparently.
Oh, right.
And it's like, well, that seems expensive, but fair enough. Corey probably chime in there. 3 different locations for the one.
Very expensive.
Thank you. You can be quiet again now.
Sorry. For the layman who's on the outside, what is White Lotus?
White Lotus is a television program. It's on the Netflix.
I get so confused.
Or is it Apple?
We watch it through Apple.
Is it like a reality TV?
No, absolutely not,
No,
mate.
seriously.
I will not be talking about it if it's reality. No, it's in the 3rd season. Each season is set around a hotel.
Yep.
And the guests and the staff and their interactions and everything that sort of happens. And like
It's a drama.
It's drama. There's it's
bit
funny
funny.
as shit.
Yeah.
Though, some of it, and it's like some of it's quite intense.
Yep.
Particularly last night's episode where it turned into Game of Thrones somehow all of a sudden. But fuck. Anyway, just proper weird. But the hotels, and for anyone who's watching who watched episode 6 of season 3.
I'm trying so hard not to talk about it. I'm still traumatized.
I will be speaking to my psychologist about this for many years to come, to be honest. But
Is this like a Black Mirror thing?
oh yeah,
potentially,
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
but probably more just worse.
Worcester?
Worser, yeah. Black Mirror has this kind of Shakespearean thing where they don't actually necessarily show everything. Yeah, there's been more penises in
there's a lot of
White
cock.
Lotus that I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Not
I've
often
never seen them.
you'll see more male bits than female bits, but
No,
this season,
a lot of male bits.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Let's get back on track here.
What-
Give us your list.
Oh, okay. Of actual hotels?
No, your bucket list. Have you got a bucket list? Because I have.
I don't know if I do, actually. There is... Huh. Yeah, no, I don't know if I do.
Ritz, Paris.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I stayed at the Ritz in Singapore.
Yeah, me too.
So I had a mate that was living there. He lived there for 7 months or 8 months or something.
Who's your mate?
It was work. They put him up in the Ritz-Carlton. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, he was...
I've been looking for that job on Seek
No,
for so long. Can't find
I don't
it.
think he wanted it. But, yeah, I get that.
Savoy, London.
Savoy, London, yeah, of course. That makes sense.
Plaza Athénée, Paris.
Okay, all right. Wow, you do have the bucket list.
I'm ticking one off in a couple of months.
Which one are you ticking off?
The Beverly Hills Hotel.
Are you?
Yeah.
Interesting. So you've gone Beverly Hills Hotel over... oh, God, what's that other place called?
The Regent Beverly Hills.
No. Holy shit. In Hollywood, it is the...
Dorchester.
No. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
Yep.
Do some research.
It's a bucket list. I get so excited now when I get to tick one off.
Yeah.
But it's for the exact reason what you're saying, because we're going over there for a work trip. And on the last week of the work trip, we're in LA.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the boys, we can spend a whole week here. We've got a couple of work guys coming over with us. But the last 2 days, I'm peeling off.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying that hotel for
Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah.
Pool, sleep in, breakfast by the pool.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy it because I'm going to be there because I want to get my money's worth.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like in that situation, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I get it. And don't leave the hotel.
No.
Pay $85 for a beer to be brought to your room. You know, all those kind of fun things that are going to happen.
Because I stayed...
Is it the Mondrian? Maybe it's the Mondrian. It is the Mondrian. Is that what I'm thinking of? Anyway.
Mondrian's pretty famous.
We stayed at the Standard in West Hollywood. That was a great hotel.
There's a lot of really cool
Yeah.
boutique hotels there.
Yeah,
And what's the famous one in Singapore? Raffles.
Raffles. Yeah.
Tick that. That was my very first cookbook.
What's your thoughts on? And there's no offense to Raffles, but I don't get the fucking peanut thing.
No,
I just don't get it. It's
big
just
rubbish.
messy. So Raffles, you
I
go,
get it.
you have a $25 Singapore
I
steak.
did it.
Yeah, so did I. But then you come out, and you're like, well, it's fine.
I enjoyed more pulling up the concierge.
Yeah.
The old dude came out, seeing the hotel, all the timber features. It's just beautiful. The restaurant was fantastic.
It's all just been redone as
The
well.
high
so-
tea was fucking so good. It's really nice to see a hotel that puts so much effort into their food and beverage.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We've talked about this before, but that idea of hotel restaurants in
Yeah.
Australia, really, we're so
Do
far.
you reckon it's going to come back?
No,
You know,
I don't think so. I think I don't know.
I reckon hotels more and more are going to start recruiting restaurant operators to come in
And that's the model, right?
to keep them in their hotel. Don't charge them rent.
Particularly things like Vegas and
Yeah.
you see it like Crown in Melbourne. Like they've had plenty of operators come in there and then leave when they were fully subsidised or partially subsidised, whatever it may be. So something. Maybe the math isn't there with that kind of a venue, but it'd be interesting to see what happens in Brisbane.
Or maybe it's the restaurant analogy where restaurants have a 5-year lifespan.
Lifespan, yeah. So they just need to keep refreshing. So that you just
Keeping
do
them interesting.
you do 12-month sort of in residences. So like someone comes in,
The problem is these guys come in and spend $5 or $6 million on a fit out,
Yeah.
and they want it to be their own.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't
it's
know, interesting.
tough math to make
Yeah.
that work.
But I do love. I love the hotel game, and I really appreciate a nice hotel.
Yeah,
I appreciate the one thing. One of my favourite places that I've stayed in Australia is Spices Peak Lodge,
incredible property.
and the journey starts from the driveway.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
and
and
that's
then
the
when
thing
you
we've
get
talked
there-
about that. Where it's like the 12K is off road, and then
The GM comes out and meets you in the Pulkashire.
Yeah.
And
Good
that's
figure.
it's so cool.
So fancy.
But it's just nice. You know?
absolutely,
And it's not
luxury.
cheaper.
It's luxury,
Correct. But when people say it's expensive, I say compared to what?
value for money.
Because if you go into your room and it's all inclusive, and you get a half bottle of Rotorua,
yeah,
and you drink it, and then you go out for lunch, and you come back to your room, there's another cold bottle
Yeah.
chilled in there. Like little things like that. The
Yeah.
fire's set for you.
Yeah.
All you got to do is flick a match in it.
yeah. I remember I used to
They
stay.
get a lot of effort. right?
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I remember staying at the Park Hyatt in Sydney, and then you sort of turn up, and they're like, "Oh, welcome back. We've got the same pillows as you was last.
One of
last
the greatest
time." It's
hotels
just like,
in Australia.
What the hell are we talking
The
about?
Park Hyatt Melbourne's unbelievable.
Incredible. Oh, no, it was Sydney.
Oh, Sydney. Well,
Sydney.
that's-
Yeah, still pretty solid. Yeah.
That would probably be one of the most iconic hotels.
I think so because of where it
I've
is and
never
everything
stayed
else.
there.
So, but and
Who's the culinary director there? It's James Files.
is
I
it?
think. Yeah. I read that somewhere
In
before.
Sydney?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I had a friend that used to work at Grand Hyatt in Melbourne, Sarade. Hello, Sarade. She's now still with the same group. She's now in Brisbane at their property there that they have on the mall, the old Lennons, which is now called
Used to be
something-
Next. Oh, no. It was Next.
Yeah, next, yeah. Anyway,
Now it's High Regency.
High Regency, that's
Yeah.
right. So she's a GM there. So she
Right.
did some time in Bangkok as well. And great operator, but she sort of, cut her teeth at Grand Hyatt Melbourne. So the pleasure of staying there quite a few times, which is nice. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the reason why I brought it up is that idea of, again, it probably comes back to value. And, when you're sitting there and you're like, well, this is the budget for the week or for the 5 days, whatever it may be. How much of that do I want to spend on where I actually lay my head down?
Where do you want to, how much do you want to jam into your room?
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than spend it in the restaurant.
And
spend
that's
it on
exactly the
activity.
conversation that we
Yep.
had on the weekend. It's like, okay, well, hang on, that could be a really nice night out or
Yep.
a couple of nights out or whatever it may be. So if we save X $100 a night by staying just around the corner, a little bit more low key,
Yep.
without the view, without the amenities, that kind of thing. What are we there for? And it comes down to exactly that. What are you there for?
Yep.
And a lot of the travel that I've done historically, obviously for work, even if you're in these places, you're working.
Yeah.
And I remember this, it was kind of it's not a sad thing, but it was one of those things where working with spices for so long, which is wonderful, don't get me wrong, but I think you sort of, the gloss comes off a little bit where it's like, I'm just here to work. Like I wasn't there with my partner. I wasn't there, to have a blowout, to have a great time. I'm there for work. Like I'd be in the venues, I'd be training, I'd be doing whatever was required. But it made them, like for me, going there on my own, it's a very different experience.
Yeah, of course it is.
Same with when you travel. Like when you're traveling on your own, you go to the hotel. It doesn't matter where you stay.
Yeah.
And I've been, again, people that I've worked with before, staying in beautiful hotels. You don't really get to enjoy that.
No.
And I remember like going to Perth. I remember one time, one of the clients that I had, I always said, look, just don't worry about the room. Just get me somewhere basic. And then one event I did over there, the next day I'm on the email going, okay, not that basic. It's like, I think I need a double bed at a minimum. Like it was a single bed. It was almost like a fucking hostel.
Oh, wow.
It was quite a lot. But again, it's like they have a pot of money.
Yeah.
They've got to pay for me. That's really cheap. They've got to pay for the flights. They've got to pay for the hotel. So it's like, okay, this is all we have left.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like, I get it. I get how budgets work.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing is like when you're doing your personal budget, how much of that do you want to spend on the room? And it also comes down to where you are as well. Like if I'm
Totally good.
on the cliffs at Cinque Terre, completely different conversation.
Of course.
To I'm staying in the countryside in France. Or
And Airbnb in New York City is fun because if you can get an old brownstone that might be a tiny bit of real sort of heritagey sort of building, at least you feel like a bit of a local then, and it's kind of living like the locals do. Then that's what I like about an
you almost
Airbnb.
feel like you are.
Yeah. And if I'm away on a trip, work related, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know the hotel thing. I felt like the hotel thing was dying a slow, painful death, but it feels to me in the last 18 months or 2 years has been reinvigorated a little bit.
Yep.
There's been, in particular on the Sunshine Coast, IHG's really pushing hard.
Right.
Obviously, there's a big injection of capital coming in through the Olympics that are coming.
Okay.
The local governments eased a lot of made a lot of relaxations in and around height restrictions.
Okay, so they go higher?
Yeah, and it makes it a bit more feasible for them to go, well, if I can get this many rooms.
Absolutely. And that's the thing.
Stack a bit.
It comes down to math.
Yeah.
For those groups, that's the thing. If you like, there's that weird kind of number, and it's somewhere between, like a small hotel, you're either under 40, or you're over 100.
Yeah.
There's this weird kind of. It's not that. Don't quote me on that. But there's that kind of weird gap where the economies of scale don't work.
Yeah.
They're just not quite there. And I know, like with Spices, some of the properties had 10 rooms.
Yeah.
And then, then 20 and then 30 and then 40 all of a sudden. It's like, hey, hang on, here we go.
Yeah.
And it's like the next step up, though, is like, it's a big, big jump.
Yeah. And some of those properties, like Parklight in Sydney, fucking hell, that's a big hotel.
Huge property.
And can you imagine what that costs to run on a daily basis?
I've kind of done some numbers on that historically. And it's just, you sit there and go like, holy smokes. When you think about, I mean, particularly the thing for me in hotels is housekeeping. Like that is such a massive thing because that's
Laundry.
the first impression as well. So if you come in and the bed's not perfect,
No.
you're like, oh, there we go.
Things aren't clean.
Things aren't clean. That's the worst. The glasses are, still got fingerprints on them. Or I mean, they're getting a bit.
I look at those
snobby.
properties like the Ritz,
Yeah.
who are really going hard. They're building a property in the Gold Coast. They're going to Sydney Harbour.
Yeah.
Somebody told me, is it, what's his name, the miner from WA, brought RM Williams.
Twiggy.
He's behind that.
Twiggy Forest, yeah, right.
So I like that bit of a push because I think that's one thing in particular on the Sunshine Coast. We haven't had a nice, in particular, a 5-star hotel
For a long time.
30 years, I reckon.
Yeah, well, Hyatt.
Probably the Hyatt.
Yeah.
Soft
Quite cool.
hotel.
Yeah,
You know.
Softell's good property.
Is it 5-star now constantly? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say
The food's good, but it's hard. It's got to be that complete experience.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
and that's the difference. I think there's that. The idea of what 5-star means as well. You can get 5 stars just by having 24-hour reception, by having a gym, by having X, and just ticking the boxes. Like, yep, that's 5-star. It doesn't mean that's the level of service you're going to get.
Yeah, correct.
And I think that's the big difference. When I remember the time I stayed at the Ritz in Singapore, I think from taxi to room, 13 different people said hello and welcome.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was almost too much. It's like I was just getting bounced around by welcomes, but it is a lot.
Yep.
Airbnbs and the like. Let's just say that so we're not just talking about a particular brand, but have you had any massive wins with Airbnbs?
Oh God, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And local as well. Brisbane.
Yeah.
I've had great Airbnbs. Melbourne. I've had some I've had more shockers.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Though. It's like
I've had bed bugs. I've had.
really.
Yeah. I booked an Airbnb that was bullshit as well. Never existed. Yeah, you name it. I've had
Really?
leaking taps and stripping fucking showers and.
We had one in Perth where clearly it was a cat household.
Oh God.
but not one cat. Like there must have been, I don't know. When we walked in, it was
This-
like, this is a cat. Like it smelled like a cattery.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And we were one bedroom short somehow. So I ended up sleeping on the floor in the lounge room, I should say. Just all I could smell, there was just cat everywhere.
Yeah,
Not a pleasant smell for going to sleep to. Cat. Unless you're into cats.
One of the last Airbnbs I booked, I slept on the floor. We booked an Airbnb in New York. It was in a great location, but it was above a Middle Eastern restaurant that was 24 hours.
Oh.
And I don't know whether you dealt in particular with Afghanis.
Right.
The guys when they're having a tea, and there's a group of them, they just talk fucking so loud.
Right.
Just, and they were
All night.
I wanted to go down and go, what do you guys do for a living?
Yeah.
Because they were there all night.
Yeah.
So when we rocked up, it was like kind of fun because there's a bit of a buzz.
Then they
And
just
the
never
food
shut
was
up.
epic down
Yeah.
there. Like that style of that
Yeah.
Middle Eastern food is delicious,
Yeah.
right? But then by about 2, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. It was so tiny, but
Yeah.
because we had no money, so we
Yeah.
just needed somewhere cheap to
And
stay.
that's the thing, you make those decisions based on budget.
And would I stay there again? It was fun. I just wish I'd have got a bit more sleep.
Yeah.
But
Particularly somewhere like that where you know you wanna have a great day the next day. You
Yeah.
know, you've got plans, whatever it may be, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be busted
yeah.
from 6 a.m.
And we booked in the last leg of this US trip I've got coming up. We booked a good Airbnb in West Hollywood, and it wasn't that expensive. It was
Yeah.
cheaper than a hotel.
Yeah.
Because there's a few of us going, so we got a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
And it was way cheaper than four
hotel
studio
rooms, yeah.
rooms in a hotel.
Yeah.
It's a great location.
Yeah.
There's a super host. I made sure I booked a super host.
Yeah.
So you pay a little bit more for that, but
you
I
get
didn't
some
want to get to
guarantees.
LA with no hotel for everybody because that's a shit fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's where the boys are going to stay there. I'll peel off for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
So, and I'm so looking forward to that.
yeah.
There's something about ticking a bucket list thing that it's really good.
It's an interesting question. I've never really thought about that, about hotels I'd like to stay at, and all
Yep.
those ones you mentioned. It's like, yeah, of course, yeah, no
Yep.
problems at all. And it's also like you didn't mention Asia at all.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can tell you some in
Yeah.
Asia, like Park Hyatt, Tokyo.
Yeah,
Good friend of mine worked there.
Yeah.
and
It's
that's
just
one of the greatest hotels
go there
in
and
the
have a
world.
drink and pretend you're lost in translation. Yeah,
Oh god, yeah, and I suppose I've spent so much time in North America. That's where my head goes to first.
Yeah.
Because it's funny. In my younger days, I did a fair whack of travel, and I did it on the smell of an oily
Yeah.
rag. And I always look forward to hopefully going back when I had a couple of bucks.
you got $5.
And I really haven't had too much of
Yeah.
unless it's a work trip.
yeah,
And then you usually just, because there's a couple of you going,
Yeah.
you're trying to do it on a fairly sharp budget
Yeah.
because you spend most of your money in
Absolutely.
a hotel. In a restaurant.
So if you had unlimited budget and you got to visit a place that you've been to before, but do it at a different level, which place would that be?
New York City.
Right.
I've never been there I've had nothing
Dollar,
other than
yeah.
a smell of an oily rag.
Yeah.
So, and if you go, I reckon New York City would be a fucking pretty fun place with a few bucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Absolutely. I went there with a credit card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
But
I still think I'm paying for it, to be honest.
But I think all the big cities of the world are like that, right?
Yeah.
Paris, exactly the same as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and Paris for me has always been, it's just not my city.
You see, Melissa hates it too. I love it.
I've just never had a great time there. I don't know, and every time I've been there, and it's not like I've been there 100 times. I've probably been there maybe 6 times, something like that. Which is I'm very fortunate. Easy. Anyway, but every time that I've been there,
'cause it's so
something's
close to
happened.
Burgundy.
Something's happened.
Yeah,
Like
right.
something's happened, either physically, mentally, emotionally. Something's happened.
I'm putting that down to Melissa as well. She got the worst food poisoning I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
I was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life. In Paris.
Really?
Yeah, it was great. And then
What'd you get sick from?
New York.
No shit.
No, have we talked about
A
this?
hot dog.
I don't know if I've talked about this. No, it wasn't a hot. It was a salad at like 3:00 in the morning. I was out in this bar, met this
Serve
couple.
yourself right for eating salad.
It wasn't salad. It was like rocket underneath, like fried something or other. I got this thing called. Had 2 things. I had Blastocystis hominis, and it wasn't Cryptosporidium. It was
Jesus Christ.
something else, basically gut bacteria, and it
Wiped you out.
6 months.
Wow.
6 months to recover from it. It was unbelievable. I've never been sick.
So you
in
had
my
to
life.
come home, crook?
No. We had we're on like a 6-week journey.
Oh.
So we'd done West Coast US, Disneyland, everything else. Had Locke with us, so he would have been maybe 5 or 6. Then went to Canada, up to Whistler. So my mate Jono, who's still there, just never fucking came home. Then we went to New York. Then New York to Paris. Paris to Tokyo.
So you were sick on that
Tokyo
way.
home. I was sick from New York all the way. So it was like,
There's-
oh, hang on, no, we had a week in the south of France as well.
There's very few things that's worse than being sick when you travel.
Oh, it's the worst. Horrendous. And that's when hotels matter.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate that the place we stayed in a place called Cahors, which is a cool little wine region, sort of south central France. And a friend of mine had a house there, which was like 400 years old, and it was the most ridiculous house. And it was. I'm glad I was sick there because it was a friend's house.
Yeah.
She wasn't there, unfortunately, but I didn't feel like I had to. There was no airs and graces. Like it was just us.
Yeah.
I could relax and try and recover, but I couldn't. And that's where I got really sick, and then had to try and go to a pharmacy in France and explain to them how I'm just dying. And it was very hard. There was no Google Translator.
What's important to you? Like when you book this room down in Tassie, what's important to you?
I think location.
Yeah.
Probably the first thing. Particularly
Because a lot of people don't realise that, right? Because you can blow a bunch of fucking money on
or
Ubers,
time.
right? Jesus
Time.
Christ.
And this is the thing. It's like I looked at even Jen was like, we'll just get an Uber in from the airport because it's 15 minutes or whatever. It's like, hang on a second. Because once you're there, then to go to anything, like, I've got friends in Richmond, friends at Bruny Island. So it's like, well, we're going to do that. So we've got to get around. And it's like, it's $50 a day.
Yeah.
Getting an Uber, that's 2 trips in an Uber. Maybe in Hobart, it's probably 1. But, it's just, I also don't want to be reliant on that.
Yeah.
So that probably becomes even more important if you don't have transport.
Yeah.
It's like, but then the cities like I'm looking at going to Japan later in the year with Locke, my son, and it's like, okay, well then where are we going to stay? Because I've stayed there a couple of times in Airbnbs and it was awesome.
Yeah.
But also stayed in hotels, also great. So it's like, what's going to work for this trip? But again, it's like, where are we?
Yeah.
Where do we want to be? Do you want to be in Ginza? Do you want to be in Roppongi? Absolutely not. Do you want to be in Shibuya? So there's like,
Kyoto.
But then if you don't know that, like I'm fortunate that I've been there, so I kind of know where I want to be. But if you don't know that, you're just getting online and going, where do I stay in Tokyo? And then you're going to get directed in the same place as everyone else is going to be directed. So, but I think for me, first off would be location.
Yeah.
So
you figure out what you're there for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair
and
enough.
then where is everything else? And then I think that you look at the rooms, you look at the view, all that kind of thing. I mean, that's relatively important.
I was just thinking things like an ironing board, an iron, good sheets,
It
a
blows
good
my
pillow.
mind how many places don't have irons anymore.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah, a lot of places in America, they say that it's a hazard to be in the room because
What a fire hazard.
Yeah.
People just getting drunk and leaving.
So you got to ring, so you got to ring reception. They'll bring an iron up for
Yeah.
you, but it's like such a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Especially when you're somebody like me. I've got a significant problem about putting an unironed shirt on. Some people don't care, and it gives me heart palpitations.
I'm now in that category. I just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, no, I need an iron, or just a good bed, and that's what I like about Sheraton properties.
Yeah,
One of their
good
brand
beds.
standards is the bed.
Yeah.
And the pillows.
Yeah.
And especially when you're traveling, even if you're not doing it for work.
Yeah.
But when you're going out busting the pavement all day, it's important to get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And I think it's becoming. I reckon it's. I can't help it. I don't know whether it's just me hoping it, but I think there's going to be a bit of a resurgence in good dining in hotels.
I hope
because back in the day, that was if you wanted to go somewhere real flash, you went to the Hilton in Brisbane. You went to the Hyatt.
Yeah.
You went to.
But that hasn't been the case for what,
the
30
Regent.
years?
I know.
But
Why
then
is that?
the rest of the world, it is.
I know.
Like London, like that's
It's one of the
where
few
the
places you
restaurants
can still get a beautiful high tea.
Yeah. Yeah, or
a great breakfast.
Perfect martini.
Yes.
In the bar, that kind of stuff. Now,
Like you go to a really good hotel in Tokyo, and the bartenders are fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the selection of booze is unbelievable.
and that's the thing with hotel booze in this country historically is pretty poor.
Yeah.
What I used to get what frustrates me is when you're in, let's say Adelaide. Okay, I'm staying in Adelaide. I'm at a hotel. Doesn't matter what it is. Just a run-of-the-mill hotel. I'm there for work, and you look at the minibar and the wines are from WA. And you're like, what the hell's happening here? Or vice versa. Queensland's horrendous at it. We would never put Queensland wine in a room. And it's like,
But
why?
why does a minibar need to have mixed nuts and a fucking Kit Kat?
I reckon I've eaten a couple of those Kit Kats. Though.
But I mean, come on.
The best minibar I've ever seen in the world was the Standard in West Hollywood.
Really?
That was, I'll show you a photo. It is unbelievable.
So what made it unbelievable?
Oh, it had everything you could possibly imagine on there. There was all of the drugs you could possibly want legally. There was prophylactic devices. There was anything medical that you could possibly need in your stay was there.
That's cool.
There's water.
How many times have you forgotten a toothbrush or a toothpaste?
Exactly, all that kind of stuff. We did that recently. We forgot it. Anyway, rushed out, got bored of toothbrush, got back in the room. Oh, there's a toothbrush. It's like, well done. Anyway, like half bottles of tequila, not like a shot of tequila, not a 50 ml bottle. Like this is a proper bottle of booze, decent bottle of wine, maps for the area. There was a Bose speaker there that you could buy. There was like there was a portable charger. There was things like that. You're like, that's fucking clever.
Yeah.
It's also in that place, high volume, high density. You're going to get people coming with plenty of coin that are like, I just need that, and so they're going to grab it. Translating that into an Australian market, different conversation. But certainly, Spice's had success with upgrading everything in their minibars, like taking it away from just the shittiest wine you can possibly find. So like, what's the half bottle we can get for $5?
When I did the refurb at Sheraton Noosa 10 plus years ago, I made a point of going, we're going to turn this minibar on its head here.
Yeah.
We had Valrhona chocolate.
Yeah.
We had Byron Bay cookies was just starting to fly.
So
we had
good.
Byron Bay cookies. We had trying to get everything local, as many
Yeah.
local Sunshine Coast stuff, and then also we had to step it back, but
Yeah.
it needed to be from Queensland,
Yeah.
needed to be from New South Wales, local.
Yeah.
And then we did exactly what you said. We tried to get a few local spirit distilleries,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But then we made sure that there was a half bottle of champagne in there.
Yeah.
There was a half bottle of decent Pinot Noir.
Yeah.
You know, and because it doesn't need to be shit.
No. And that's the thing. It's like, I'm in the room. I want to have a drink. Oh, it's here. I'm just going to have that.
Give them the option to spend money if they want to.
I remember the ex was.
Well, I see another bottle of fucking Red Claw for fucking $80. My fucking God, fuck that.
Good wine.
We started.
Good booze, but
Yeah, but I mean, it's in every. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. It's like, feels like an easy sell.
So just to explain that pause for those playing at home, Corey's just put down an entire bottle of tequila and 2 glasses on the table, which makes me
three. You got a
This
microphone.
was
Very-
more of a suggestion because I feel like we forgot to talk about earlier the product we were going to review at the end of every episode.
Oh.
So this was me just going, take an initiative.
look at you go. Give him a microphone.
Fucking hell.
Look at him go.
Interesting
choice.
I can change it for beer if you would like.
No.
Something a little bit
I
like
got no
Tony.
tequila. I'm all on board with that.
Fucking throw it down. Big
Throw
fella.
it down.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that the difference between a good hotel and a great hotel is when someone does, you see that someone's put effort into that.
Yeah.
They've thought about who's coming in, what they could possibly want. But this minibar, it was this big. It was huge. It was like a basket. It was overflowing, but it was so good.
I've got a good story about Melissa stayed at the Savoy in London going back a few years ago, and her and a good friend got lost, and they were properly fucking lost. And I love my wife to death. I'll lead with that.
Be very careful what the next words are that come out of
She's
your mouth.
fucking hopeless with a map, right? Like properly hopeless. So she rang the hotel and tried to get some directions, and they were like, "You're literally 3 blocks away. So do this, do that, do this." And anyway, they got back to the hotel. They recognised the night before when they had dinner, they had a bottle of champagne. They had a bottle of Ruinart Blanc de Blanc.
Yeah.
They got back to the room. They were stressed to fuck, right? Got back to their room, and the GM had put a bottle of Ruinart Blanc de Blanc on ice in their room with 2 glasses and a pun of the strawberries.
Did they put the strawberries in the ruiner?
No, they
I
didn't.
hope they did.
No, they didn't. or a Rosella. Is it what is it?
Oh yeah, fuck.
hell.
I know.
I seen a glass.
I know
I seen
Melissa wouldn't do that.
I seen a glass jar. I came in here of one of them the other day. I'm
The
like, what a-
hibiscus,
hibiscus.
Rosella's in hibiscus syrup. Delicious. Fucking never.
Don't ever put it in glass.
Well, anything with rose water, it's just like, what is this pour? Rory. Corey, what are we doing here with this pour? Is it a pour for ants?
Where's yours?
It's not great when you don't have your headset on, but all right. I mean, we could probably talk about hotels until the time, but
and because I love hotels, and I really do hope that they get there from the house in order and they keep going. But I'm so happy that there is still places like, I look at places like Qualia, the food and beverage is fantastic, and that's got to be one of the Queensland's best. I reckon. Carlisle and Brizzy,
very good.
Cross, they do a good job.
Yeah,
like they really do.
Yeah,
like good on them.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some exciting things happening in the Goldie down
there.
Yeah,
Mondrian's looking, and it's just up the road from ours. It's like, it looks epic.
That will clearly be proper.
Yeah. I mean,
that'll go down in history.
I think they're talking rack rate as serious coins. So,
Rays down in Byron.
Amazing property.
Spices Peak Lodge.
Yeah, definitely. Tassie, there's heaps of places as well.
Yeah, it really is.
We're kind of spoiled for choice. Bannisters.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots. It's more reason to go out there and see more places. That's
and I always say, there's always this conversation around, I can't afford to do it. Try, if there's one great hotel. My wife and I did this when we had our very first restaurant. We didn't have a pot to piss in. And instead of going to 3 or 4 shit places, just go try one really nice one for 2 days instead of a week.
Yeah.
And I feel as though sometimes you can get a better holiday by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. You can completely relax, hand over to someone, don't do anything.
If it's your thing. But sometimes people don't give a shit.
Absolutely.
They just want a bed.
And it depends on the holiday you're after. Like,
and there's a part of me that I'm envious of people like that.
I'm definitely, it's cheaper. Definitely.
Much cheaper.
All right, what are we drinking?
This, mate.
Oh, I don't know much about this.
And also, let's just reach out to the audience and see if they can suggest any bucket list hotels or places that they could recommend that they want to stay or...
Absolutely.
No.
So, do you want us to say that, or could you just said it? It's done.
Because I've just said it, it's probably fine.
This is working out really well.
Yeah, no, that's
He's trying to tell us to say something. We don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is tequila. This is Terramana, currently owned by a gentleman by the name of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and from my understanding, he spent a lot of time on this. This was a big thing for him because he is a tequila drinker.
Yep.
I think that sort of brings some sort of authenticity to the brand.
Sure.
Obviously, he's been down there. Obviously, spends a lot of time there. Whatever it may be. And I was always with these kind of brands where they're coming out with some celebrity kind of thing. And I think historically, it's interesting because historically, looking at something like Aviation Gin, Ryan Reynolds, he invested in that because he tasted it and loved it. Then you've got things like, Kylie Minogue's wine. You've got Brad and Angelina's rosé, which I think he's ended up with in
Daniel Ricciardo's
those DR3s. There's another one that I'm thinking of. George Clooney, with his tequila.
That's quite nice, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
Not a fan. The mezcal for me is just too smoky. But I think the thing is with that sort of celebrity side of things, you can easily dismiss a lot of these products and go, they're just, Margot Robbie's gin. There's plenty of things where they're out there and people have done things. And it's like, how involved are they? Do they really give a shit?
Give them $100,000 to smile. For
are you an ambassador, or are you actually someone that is in this? And I know from what I've been told that he's actually deep into this is a big thing for him. So, and the way that I would describe this particular, so this is the Reposado.
What's that mean?
It's basically, let's say, it's got oak, so it's aged in oak.
But it's not peated.
No. And this thing, the way that I would, and I've just tasted this recently, and I'll taste it again right now, but it's kind of, I explain this as like it's a gateway to tequila.
Right.
Because hardcore tequila can hurt.
Yeah.
Like in a good way, but same with mezcal. But this is kind of pretty easy. Like,
and tequila's
almost dangerously easy.
Tequila's big at the moment, right?
Huge. Tequila, like with our group at the moment, let's say the top 10 cocktails across the group every week, 5 or 6 of them are tequila based.
Yeah, right.
Just versions of margaritas.
Kind of doesn't surprise me because we put a slushy machine into Boca in December, and the slushy frozen passion fruit spicy margarita. From December to the second week of January paid for December's rent.
Yeah, which is just
and
crazy.
Boca is a large venue.
Yeah.
But mind you, Queensland,
That's got to do
slushy. It's 40 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fucking good drink to be drinking.
And that's the thing. It's like, whatever it is, it's still got to be yummy.
yeah, 100%.
Like you could fill that stuff full of whatever,
Yep.
and people still won't buy it. But if the drink is good, they're going to have 2, 3,
agree.
4, 5 responsibly, of course. But this is a reposado tequila. Generally, is the tequila you're going to sip.
Yep.
It's not a tequila you're going to smash. Obviously, in this country, history of tequila generally is a clear bottle with a little red hat on it, sombrero, that everyone's got pretty pissed with at some point in time in their life and vowed to never drink tequila ever again. And then if you ever get the chance to go to Mexico and you actually taste tequila from where it's from, particularly if you go to Jalisco, you can actually sit there and you go, this is a little bit different to what I was given. It's almost like saying that all Australia makes is $5 wine. You know, you have that, and you're like, well, that's it. I don't like Australian wine. It's like, no, hang on a second.
Yeah.
So tasting other things,
It's a long bow.
Absolutely right. And it's also, there's different cacti, there's different processes involved, there's all these different things. So it becomes quite finite in its flavour profiles.
Because there was a real problem with the agave, right?
Well, it takes a long time to mature.
Right.
And it's like 8 years.
But was there a problem with
Huge.
it? Yeah, right.
3-4 years ago.
Gotcha.
There was like there was a global shortage where they just hadn't caught up yet. So sales were going crazy, but the production levels hadn't matched it.
Because it's a real fucking thing at the moment, tequila.
Huge.
We sell so much of it. And I'm talking top end stuff.
Yeah.
And I see people drinking it on ice.
Yep.
I see not people shooting it, but people sipping it.
Yeah.
I see it with soda.
Yeah.
And then obviously
In cocktails,
Everything,
margarita,
yeah.
every
Everything
version of a
else.
margarita you can possibly imagine. I think that it's interesting you mentioned that sort of that Queensland lifestyle thing, because there's a few tequila-based drinks that really make sense. Like in summer, margarita, hello.
Yep.
So you got, lime juice, salt, some kind of, generally depending on what you're doing, some kind of orange liqueur.
Yep.
And it's just yummy.
Somebody poured me a glass the other day that it was a double shot with a large ice cube in it
Yeah.
and a ribbon of cucumber. And
Tequila.
it was really delicious.
Yeah, okay.
Because when I got it, I'm like, I wonder what sort of spud bartender.
Yeah, has done.
And the guy that gave it to me went, no. That I asked him to do that trial, and I was like, it fucking made so much
Refreshing.
sense. Really refreshing.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the soda with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a tonic drinker with
too sweet.
gin either, so I like gin and soda.
Yeah.
And I thought, we'll give this a go, and I fucking really liked
Yeah.
it. It was so refreshing.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of those drinks in the tequila family of cocktails are refreshing.
Yep.
Like a Paloma.
Oh yeah.
Pink grapefruit and tequila. Okay.
Rock on.
It's just fill up a bucket and give me a straw. So, but I also think, again, it's those, if you look at margaritas, there's margarita, there's spicy margarita, there's coconut margarita, there's mandarin margarita, all of those versions. That the fact that if someone's not super into citrus, you just go, okay, roll here, have a coconut one. They're like, fuck yeah, absolutely, I'll take that. Thank you very much. Or I'll have a spicy one. So
Did you try that, Corey?
he's not allowed.
It's really yum. It's really delicious.
Get my verdict.
But that's the thing, I think, for me, there is that.
It's a nice bottle.
There's a familiarity to it, but it's really easy.
Yeah.
There's no hard edges to it
That is really nice.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm not a spirits person. Like, I can't do spirits.
at all.
No.
If
No whiskey, no nothing.
If you had to drink a spirit, what would you choose?
Tequila.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just because it's going to get you to where you need to go, or
On ice, or how
There's,
do you have
there's usually in a margarita.
it? Yeah, right.
in an IV drip?
I make a mean margarita.
Do you?
Yes. Fresh lime.
Yum.
All right.
I
Well,
make my own delicious sugar syrup.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
all right.
The chef, fucking chef.
Jesus, right,
excuse
mate.
me.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, I do like, as I said, for me,
It's good.
when I tasted this, I was like a little bit dubious, and then it's like, you know what? I get it. I kind of understand where this is. It's a, The Rock has always been like the people's, what was it called, the people's champion or whatever. It's like that's kind of, this is, generic's not the right word,
What are you
but
paying for that in a bottle shop?
close to $100.
Oh, fuck. So it's not cheap.
No.
Yeah, right.
Might be 90 maybe.
Put the lid back on.
Put the lid back on and sell it. But it is for the people.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to offend a lot of people.
No.
And I know certainly we've had some success with sort of giving it to people that don't alcohol.
40%.
I was going to say it's going to be pretty bang on 40. So, but yeah, not the right one for cocktails.
Yeah.
That's when you use the Blanco or
a
the
bit of a
Silver,
waste,
whatever it is. Yeah, but when you've got that little bit of extra, a little bit of colour in there, a little bit of extra flavour, you just want to sort of sip. This for me is just ice.
That's winning.
Yeah. Yummy.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Shout out to these guys.
Shout out
The
to
Rock.
The Rock, Terramana. If anyone's looking for it commercially, it's available through Spirits platform, who I will be calling tomorrow.
Or marketwinestore.com.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Axel, very good idea. Yeah, do that.
We're going to bleep out Peter's last comment.
Yeah.
Fuck off, Peter.
Oh, I meant wholesale.
My kids at school.
Wholesale. I'm not talking about retail. Retail, of course, this is the only place to buy.
We'll give you a discount if you're a restaurant.
So kind, so generous. All right, let's wrap that up. I reckon we'll pick that up another time. I think
Things
it'd be
hotels.
good to talk to someone from within the current industry. So,
or a good hotel chef
Yeah.
or a GM.
yep, absolutely. Let's do that. Okay.
Martin. Get Martin down from...
Mate, he's in South Australia now.
That's right, he is too.
Bring him up.
He's a good lad.
He is
He's a good operator.
Hello, Martin. All right.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Pete.
Here's to the
Thanks,
Rock.
Rory. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, boys.